Welcome to this week's book club conversation. Actually, this month's book club conversation. If we did one every week, we'd have a lot of books. 52 books a year. Most of us can manage 12. That's one of those things that we can sometimes do. And today we're talking about The Ultimate Jet Guide with the author, Tom Lelyo, who is with us today. Do you want to just go around the room and do introductions really quickly for the people who showed up on time?
That'd be great.
Okay, I'm Paula Williams. ABCI, we help aviation companies sell more of their products and services.
John Williams, and I work for
her. Keeping it super simple.
Too, but I also do content creation.
Yes, she does. And she does amazing travel writing because she does amazing travel. And Tom will leave you till last, but
okay.
Michael, you want to go next?
Sure. So I'm Michael Duke. I'm the founder of DBT Aero, and we design and build the coolest airplane that most people have never heard of.
So, absolutely. Annamarie, we'll put you on the spot since you just digged in. Did you want to do a quick introduction?
Sure. Yeah. Hi, my name is Annamarie Buonocore with InFlight USA and BizAvJets USA magazines. Those are two publications that I have. InFlight USA is monthly and BizAvJets USA is quarterly for the BizJet community. And I also broker with USA Aircraft Brokers and want to learn more about brokering and become a better broker. Thank you.
Great. Well, we're glad you guys are here, and we're really glad to have Tom. Welcome. I'm glad you are here. It's nice when we have the author.
It'd be a long conversation without me.
Exactly. Great. So I think, a couple of things that really struck me about the book, and this is one that I didn't put in the questions, but I love this feature, and I wish I had thought about this when we did our book. There are little QR codes all the way through the book that lead to
I don't know where they go. Who knows?
Exactly.
They just kind of showed up.
I wish we had thought of that when in our defense, our book was pre-COVID and yours was post-COVID. So I think those little technological improvements have changed publishing, in a way that really kind of hybridizes the whole thing. But that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think I got it from Alex Hormozy. Had seen a couple of a couple of his books, had the same idea, and no, it was a lot of fun writing the book. I guess that's probably not the right way to put it. It was very labor intensive, but I'm also a ready, fire, aim kind of person. So a friend of mine, shout out Jenny, she was writing her book and she's been writing it for about 2 years. And I was like, all right, I want to write a book, and I did it in like 6 months or so. Just because I was in a zone to go for it, but she's launching her book now, and she did everything the right way, and I did everything just a way to get it out, right?
Yeah.
And so there's definitely things I wish I could have done better, but for me, it was about getting the content out there just so that we could have the product. I'm a ready, fire, aim person. We kind of will figure things out on the back end, but yeah, no, it was cool. We had a lot of content to draw from, and then it was just all funneling it down into a written format, which is not as easy for me than just hopping on the camera and being like, hey guys, what's up?
Yeah, exactly. Right. And we're kind of on the topic of the actual writing of the book, and then we'll talk about the content in just a minute. But yeah, one of the things that I think makes it so much easier to produce a book is the fact that you are a content creator to start with. You've had a podcast, you've been a writer, you've done all of these things before, so you're not starting from scratch. You had quite a bank of material to draw from.
Yes, exactly. And so it actually started off as a lead magnet is how the Ultimate Jet Guide started. It started off as a lead magnet that turned into 3 or 4 lead magnets. So I had the Ultimate Jet Guide for buyers, one for people who wanted to charter, one for people who wanted to sell their jet, one for people who wanted to invest in a jet. And so I had all of these, little PDFs that were 4 or 5 pages long themselves as a lead magnet that I was like, okay, we got to make a book out of it, basically.
Exactly. And I love the repurposing of content, because that really makes it that much more valuable. You've spent time, energy, money creating content, and then if you can repurpose it in as many ways as you can, I think a book is just a natural extension of
Exactly.
what you've already invested in. So
Yeah. Yeah. And the nice part about it was, with Amazon self-publishing, it was really a Word document
mhm.
that turned into, I had to learn how to like format my Word document with headings and stuff like that. But then it was an easy turn into the Kindle. And then from the Kindle, I think I ended up using InDesign at the very end, just
Mhm.
for formatting of the book itself. But I could have just stopped at the Word, Microsoft Word level, and it would have worked. And so it really just cost me my time and energy. I didn't pay for a designer, because we just did it on Canva.
Yeah,
And we had some, again, repurposing content. We had photos of jets, and so we could use that as the cover. I had photos of myself already from the content, and so
yep,
really it didn't cost anything, and it's there.
right.
So
Amazing.
that's interesting. So you didn't work with a ghostwriter or publisher, typeset, any of this stuff. You just self-published through Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah. What I've found with aviation is whenever you try to bring in a marketing expert, I think this is why it's really important that, where Paula specializes in aviation and ABC, it tailors to aviation professionals. What I have found is when I reach out to other marketing, professionals, is they try to make aviation what they think it is, and they're like, hey, your content needs to be more luxury. It needs to be more for views, and it needs to pull, they just have all these interesting ideas of what they think aviation is like. And so when I wrote the book, I specifically wrote it for the people that I was already talking to. I was talking to somebody today on Zoom, and we were just talking about how, there's some aviation content creators that are very polished. Shout out to Steve, right? Varsana with the jet business. And, he's got his office. That's a freaking jet, in his own showroom. Um, Andrew Hopkinson's another great one with Hopkinson's Aero. I mean, their videos are just spot on. I've been seeing them on LinkedIn a lot lately.
Mm,
For me, it's like, hey, I'm at my desk, but I'm going to give you information that I think is going to be valuable for you. And so far, 3,000 subscribers on YouTube agree, and 30 people or 50 people, whatever it is, who bought the book, agree with that as well. But yeah, I think the self-publishing route was important because it allowed me to just kind of stay true to what that brand has been, and deliver the content that I thought was going to be valuable to people I've already been talking to.
fantastic. I don't want to dominate the conversation, but I have a million questions that I'd love to talk about.
Yeah.
One of them is the dedication and, kind of your lifestyle and how you fit this together. You've written a book. A lot of people find that very daunting. They also find the lifestyle of being a broker very daunting, simply because of the amount of time that it takes to take care of clients in the manner in which they would like to become accustomed to. And all of that takes a lot of time. But how do you manage um, to get all that done? And I know you do a lot of things with like batching and other things. Maybe you can share some of that, and also your motivation and how you fit in your family, because you've got five.
Yeah. 5 kids.
Yeah.
I guess there's a lot to that, with the dedication and stuff. Part of my motivation was I had recently left the brokerage I've been working at for 3 years. And I remember sitting in the car with my son when I was packing up my office, and I was, calling my boss to let him know that I was leaving. And, my son overheard my boss just being basically just not happy with my decision to leave. And I remember looking over at my son, and I said, hey, just, and he was getting upset. My son was getting upset because he was hearing, somebody, not be happy at his dad. And he was just
Yeah.
like that, I'm really sad. I'm like, hey, listen, dude, like, don't worry about it. Just watch me, And so that motivation of just remembering like, hey, watch me, what I'm going to be doing. That kind of was the impetus to get it done.
Mhm.
And so I think that was huge, and that kind of spurs me on. My family and my faith, they spur me on, and just in general. And then as far as just balancing everything, I mean, I try to be as flexible as possible. And that goes both ways. So my family, my job is flexible so that I can stop around 3:30 every day and I can take my kid to soccer practice. But then when I'm waiting there at soccer practice and I'm talking to a client, I'll tell them like, hey, I'm just picking up the kids from soccer practice. So it goes both ways. It's not like just the family has to be flexible with, hey, I have a job, but also the job has to be flexible with, hey, I got a family. And so I think that kind of helps maintain a little bit of balance on both worlds. And I would say for the most part, everyone's been pretty, on both sides, have been pretty open to that.
Right. That is true. And I think that's been a lot more the case, I guess, in the last, 5 years, since COVID and so on. People have become a lot more blended in their life, and a lot more tolerant and transparent about their life than they were before. Like my son's taking paternity leave now, which is something that my father or, my ex-husband never would have had the opportunity to do 20 years ago. That's just not, it wasn't a thing.
Nope.
So
Yep.
the culture has changed. And I think people realize that people do have lives and they want them to have lives. You want to work with somebody that is a human being in every sense of the word too.
Exactly.
All right. Feel free to jump in if anybody else has any questions, because
Yeah,
otherwise
for sure. I'm here for you guys. Like, I don't want to dominate the conversation either. And so if I can help, I know Annamarie is a broker. So if there's any broker specific questions, I'm happy to answer them as well. And it's funny. I wrote the book for buyers because I was getting a lot of questions from buyers, and these were clients of mine, and I wanted to track them. I wanted to show that I could be a trusted authority. I think that's an important, one of the reasons you write a book is so that you're not just a trusted advisor, you become a trusted authority.
Yeah.
You're not just an order taker that somebody trusts, like, okay, yep, you want this. But you become a trusted authority when you have a book. I literally wrote the book about selling and buying private jets. And so what's interesting is even though it was written for buyers, I now use it as a primer when people are wanting to become jet brokers and I'm training them how to become jet brokers. It's like, hey, read this book because it's going to give you an insight of how the transactions work. Why should people charter? Why should people buy a jet? What are the benefits? Should they invest in a jet by leasing it back to a charter company? And then, of course, there's also funny stories in there and horror stories as well to kind of give them an overview of what it's like to be a jet broker.
One thing I think that people, especially when they first get into the aviation industry, they have a little bit of discomfort about working with high net worth and ultra high net worth people. And I think, kind of the Robin Lynch lifestyle of the rich and famous, the whole, people don't realize that was written for the mass market. That was not written for high net worth and ultra high net worth people. They are not celebrity obsessed. They are not into the gold-plated toilets. They are not into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think your book and also Dan Kennedy's Marketing to the Affluent are really good at dispelling some of the myths about that. Maybe not yours necessarily as much because you're talking to them instead of talking about them.
Yeah.
It's written for that market, but it's a great example.
The tone of the book and the stories in the book kind of show that, like, hey, listen, like you're a person.
Yeah.
You want to get from point A to point B. You want your family to be safe. You want to make some money, maybe. Like, let's have a conversation about that. And we don't have to get into, I think a lot of information out there so here's the thing. When it comes to buying a jet or buying a service or enlisting a service, whether you're, selling the jet themselves or you're selling your services to the jets, insurance, marketing, financing, whatever it might be, people want to go get information. If I want to buy a car, I'm going to Google, I'm going to YouTube, and I just want to find out information. And so basically what the book was, and it was a marketing opportunity for me to be there when someone's looking for a book and to put my voice into their ear when they're doing it. And some people like to do that via YouTube. So they find my YouTube channel. Some people like to read about it. So they buy the book and then they get my tone. And a lot of the tone that's out there, at least when I was becoming a broker and trying to learn about this, it was very technical. It was very industry specific. So I was learning about the thrust of the engines, and I was learning about the avionics and the model and the part numbers, and I was learning about the lift and the drag and the this and the that, and like that didn't really help me sell the jet. Like I needed to just talk to like people don't care about that. Like, oh, tell me the thrust on the engine. Like, and I'm not a gearhead myself. I'll geek out on things like, computers. This morning I was geeking out on, I needed, my keyboard died. My Apple Magic keyboard died. And I was looking at keyboards and I was geeking out on mechanical keyboards and how you can change the caps on them and stuff like that. And how they have different, feelings and sounds and stuff like that. I was like ASMRing the keyboards this morning. And that probably people were like, that's crazy. And what I was finding is a lot of the jet buyers, they didn't need the gearhead explanation about jets. They just needed like, hey, tell me what it does. How far does it go? How fast does it go? How much does it cost? How many people can it take? Boom, let's have that conversation. So my entire brand as a broker and the tone of the book was just to be very down to earth. Hey man, tell me what's your mission? Like, let's go. Let me tell you a funny story about a guy who's a pain in the butt in the book, who's one of my dear friends. He's a client, and he gets a kick out of every time I remind him, hey dude, I wrote about you in the book. You were the pain in the butt on page 4. He loves that. So yeah, and I would just kind of encourage people that when you're doing your marketing for aviation, don't feel like you have to do what the industry does. Be yourself. So that way you stand out and people actually remember you, and not just like, oh yeah, he's another guy who was talking about, how far the jet goes in nautical miles. I don't even know what a nautical mile is. Isn't that like yachts? I don't understand.
Why would I care about nautical?
Yeah, exactly. So,
right. No, that's funny. And, I think the marketing principle is you don't sell the drill, you sell the hole, right? So you are not selling the plane, you're selling a transportation option. To most of these people, that's what it is. They're not, what is the word? They're not like us, that we're in love with airplanes for themselves. They just need a transportation option that's better, more private, more convenient, all of those things than anything else, right?
I love that. Don't sell the drill, sell the hole.
I can't take credit for that. I think that was a Zig Ziglar thing from.
No, but what's interesting is I'm juxtaposing that to what I was taught in aviation was sell the sizzle,
not the steak. Oh.
And I think I think that'd be a really interesting, not to nerd out on marketing because we can do that as well, but I think that's an interesting challenge between like, okay, what do? Do you sell the sizzle, not the steak? Do you sell the hole, not the drill? I like the hole, not the drill better. And my favorite axiom that I learned when I was working at another brokerage was sell how you want to be sold to.
Yeah.
So I was struggling when I first started because I was trying to sell like, frankly, like Grant Cardone, 10X, like, auto car salesman, which to be clear, I made a lot of money based on those of his framework and his training. And I recommend it to people, but I was trying to put a square peg in a round hole, and I found a little bit of success, but I found even more success when I started to tailor that to sell how you want to be sold to. And I didn't want to dance around, hey, how's the weather? Because the very first thing my manager told me was, don't talk about the airplane. Like, what are you talking about? I'm calling them to list their airplane. How do I not talk about the airplane? Like, I'll talk about anything else. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So when he said sell, you sold to him, like, listen, the reason why I'm calling is I want to sell your jet, man. Listen, I know you get calls all the time. Not here to waste your time. Just hoping I might catch you at the right time. Would you be opposed to a 60-second conversation about what the market's doing right now? And then I started to find success when I just kind of backed off and treated people how I wanted to be treated. And I knew that not everybody was going to want to do business with me. Yeah. Because your vibe attracts your tribe. So some people want you to talk about the weather and the local sports team. I'm not, that. And
there are plenty of brokers who can sell to them
plenty
too.
Of brokers that can do that. Yep.
Right. I know when I started, I was trying to be Dan Kennedy and I really, really sucked at it.
Oh, geez. There's only one, and there's only one of you. So be yourself.
Exactly. So it is nice to have a mentor. It's great to have somebody that you learn from, and somebody that's been there and done that. But then you take what they teach you. You learn what works with your vibe, what doesn't work with your vibe, and it's just like the whole Buddhist mentality of if it doesn't sound right, it's not for you at this time. So.
But I think.
Yeah.
But a lot of people forget about the ultra high net worth people.
Mm.
When the alarm goes off in the morning and they get out of bed, they put their pants on just like I do. I mean, there's no difference.
Hmm.
They made some money. Okay, fine. But most of them that I've met like to be treated just like a normal Joe.
Yep. Yep.
Right.
And if you can do that, you can probably get on track with whatever you're trying to do with them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I have a quick question, if I may. The book is focused on, I guess, a buyer, but the buyer from the standpoint of a broker. I'm not a broker, I'm a manufacturer, or we are a future manufacturer. How would you tailor the things that are in the book? And I'm a former FBO owner, so I do understand the sales process. But how would you tailor it, looking at it from the standpoint of a manufacturer selling a Citation or a Gulfstream or something else, as opposed to the broker, which is, you've got, an aircraft that you're trying to turn over?
So is the question, how do you write a book and
No.
tailor that as a manufacturer and tailor it? Or is
No.
how do you take the principles from the book?
I'm looking for your insights from your experience. And if you were to go to Cessna,
Sure.
or if we were to hire you and say, we need someone to go out and sell our aircraft, how would you tailor the principles in the book to a manufacturer?
So if you were to, if someone was to hire me to sell an aircraft and it was a manufacturer, I hope I can answer the question appropriately, but I guess from a marketing perspective, I would do pretty much the same thing I'm doing now with our business and brand, and that's a concept of omnipresence. So I'm creating as much content as possible. That may not be by the aircraft, but it's all stuff that's surrounding that concept. So I'm looking at who are our target buyers and how can I provide value to them. It's like a Gary Vaynerchuk, jab, 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 right hook. His new book, Day Trading Attention. How do I get someone who's going to buy, an aircraft? How do I get their attention? Well, first they're starting at the top of the funnel. It's like, well, which one do I get? And so I'm doing a comparison on, do you want a light jet, a mid-sized jet, a heavy jet? Obviously, and if it's being brought to you by, a manufacturer. So if I'm working with Textron and I'm hawking the CJ4 Gen 2s, I might say, the benefits of the light jets versus the mids and the heavies. At the same time, I would compare the CJ4 Gen 2 with other, single pilot light jets, like the Premier or the Honda jets. So I'm creating content that I think the buyer is going to be asking. Am I on the right track? Because I have more and I'll keep going, but am I on the right track in answering your question?
Yeah, I'm just curious how you would approach it. And so far it makes a lot of sense. I'm just curious.
Yeah, for me, it's about content marketing. And so I was actually just listening to a YouTube video today that was talking about, what they did was they went into all their recorded sales calls and they listened to all the questions that people were asking and they wrote them out and they put little tally marks and they found out the most frequently asked questions. So how much does it cost? How far does it go? How many people does it seat? All that kind of stuff. They tallied up, and then their pitch and their content was basically answering those questions. And that's how I started my YouTube channel, 3 years ago, was because people were asking me questions as a broker. And I was like, well, let me just make a video about it. And then I'll send it to them in an email after I talk to them. So that after they talk to me, even though they talked to 5 other brokers today when they were trying to buy a Citation, I'm the only one that sent them a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I'm the only one that sent them a YouTube channel that actually answered the specific question that they had, where I couldn't go into in depth, like how you should do a pre-buy on the phone, but I could send them a video that says, here's how you do a pre-buy. And it's 20 minutes long and they watch it. So for me, the main strategy is content marketing by answering the questions that they're having, that they're expressing. And then as as you kind of do more and more of that, the questions that they don't even know to ask.
Yeah.
The problem with the questions that they don't even know to ask is that they're not going to find you, right, via Google or YouTube, because those are search engines. So you have to know what you're searching for. So that's kind of my biggest Achilles heel, and yours probably as well, and all of ours in aviation, is that sometimes people don't know what to ask. And so you're competing for attention, but they don't know even how to ask Google how to find you. So you're trying to tell them about this amazing, manufactured aircraft that's coming out soon, but they don't even know to ask about it. So you have to think of ways to re-engineer. Well, how do I get them here? Well, I could talk high level about how to choose the right jet, which they're typing in, how do I choose the right jet? And then, how do I choose the right electric jet? I don't know if yours is an electric jet, but you know what I mean? Like, you can kind of funnel it down to where they do find you. And so it's a both end approach. You're trying to reach up to those that are that you can help, but they don't know how to find you. And then at the same time, the people that are already talking to you and giving you questions, you're providing them even more value so that you're sticking out, so that they get attached to you. And last thing, sorry, I know it's a lot, but I like to geek out. If I do geek out about anything, it's marketing stuff. If you can attach it to a person, I think there's a tremendous value there. I've never had very much luck with getting people to attracted to a brand like Jet Life Aero. Like, it could be Jet Life Aero, but I think a big thing is they're attached to me. Like, hey, I'm Tom, and this is what we're doing right now. So I think from a manufacturer, there's going to be that tension where, yes, you want to push the manufacturer. At the same time, though, I think there's value if you can have a consistent brand with a consistent person involved in the marketing. So even if it's the same person every single time, but they're always, pushing, DBT Aero. Sorry, I had to lean in for a second. But yeah, if they're always pushing DBT Aero, that person, that's why you see personal brands, blow up more than, a company, especially in aviation.
Yeah,
Interesting. Thanks.
absolutely. Annamarie and Roman, I know you guys are both selling to some of the same people, or at least, have an interest in that. So I wanted to hold some space for you guys to ask questions if you had any.
Sure. Yeah, I'll chime in. I mean, my experience with USA aircraft brokers has been a tumultuous one. First off, they've been my magazine client for 20 plus years. And then they kind of wanted to bring new people into the business. So they asked me, and I had conflict about it over the years, not knowing if it would conflict with good journalism and things like that. But it looked like a really great opportunity. And since then, the owner of the brokerage has gone into a care home, and we have somebody else taking over, and he has another job. So it's been kind of tumultuous. I've gotten a little discouraged. I don't want to start off with the big high net worth jets, because more of my knowledge just from the magazine and my flight training is GA. And I want to get into GA. The cover I'm working with for this month, for this magazine, I'd love to work for them as an independent broker, contractor, whatever. I don't know if they have room. They said they were looking for somebody in California. So this is really an interesting spot in my entrepreneurial journey and my career in aviation. I was just wondering what advice you might have for somebody who's getting started on their own. Is it better to find, how do you find a mentor? Just any kind of advice you can give a beginner, I'd appreciate it.
Well, yeah, I think it's really important to find a mentor in a community that you can connect with. And unfortunately, there's really not much out there. You can join organizations like MBAA, especially their YoPro program. GLADA is another great program, the Global Licensed Aircraft Dealer Association, but that's $3,500 a year. You might not be in a position to swing that right away. I wasn't when I first started out, but there's been a lot of value since I've joined them. If I can be so bold, I mean, that's why we created the Circle community within Jet Life Aero. So anybody can join that. You just go to circle.jetlifeaero.com, and it's literally just like the ABC Circle group. It's a community of aspiring and veteran brokers, and we have on there, discussion threads where you can ask questions as you're going through a deal. Hey, like something turned up a pre-buy. Like, what do you guys think about this? And you can have a community of brokers. I mean, there's about 60 or 70 people in there right now. that can contribute. And we also have free training in there as well. I go live once a week on there, and so I would encourage you to find a mentor, find an online community. I would selfishly recommend circle.jetlifeaero.com.
And is that free? I'm sorry to interrupt, Tom.
Yeah, that's free. That's
Okay.
100% free. There's different
Fantastic.
tiers. You know,
Yeah.
if you wanted daily coaching, and if you wanted that, we have like a little, we're launching in April, like a little tiny marketplace within there, so people can post their listings and what they're looking for. There's other resources, and there's a bigger library of archive training in there that'll be a subscription, and then of course it goes into the course and all that kind of stuff. But no, Annamarie, I think the biggest thing is just try to talk with people that are kind of in a similar position. I know it can kind of feel lonely when you're getting started, because sometimes I feel like, and I remember this when I first started on my own, like, you either don't want to bother someone because you see them, they're busy and successful, so you're nervous to reach out to them. And I found most of the time, if I did reach out, like, they were cool, you know, they actually enjoy talking with you. Or you feel like you're so just drowning about amongst other things, you don't have time to kind of reach out to ask for the help. But at the end of the day, like, we need the encouragement. And I'll be honest, for me, like, sometimes LinkedIn is difficult for me to go into, because I see, since I'm friends with so many brokers and stuff, it's like sold, listed. And I'm just like, crap, like, this is not a good place for me. But you know, I think just kind of reaching out and knowing what kind of help you need, and being coachable about it. Like, people will help you if you come to them with a genuine problem. If you just come with them and say, I need help, and they're like, okay, like, what do you need? And you're like, I don't know, I'm struggling.
Be
Like,
specific. Yeah.
be specific. And don't be afraid to ask for help for deals. Like, you know, hey, Mr. Lawyer person, can you help me with this APA? And they'll be honest. They'll say yes, or they'll say no. And, you know, I'd love to be a resource as much as I can for you, Annamarie, because, you know, the reason I started Jet Life Aero, there's two pieces of it. There's the community and there's the brokerage. Is because when I first got it started, there was nothing, absolutely nothing to learn, especially if you wanted something for free, and especially if you wanted something that had like real world, like, this is how deals work, this is how being a broker is like. And so I'm just really passionate about paying that forward in the community for free. I think aviation changed my life. I want to help change other people's lives, and I would never stand in their way through a paywall.
Yeah, I love what you're doing. And I just wanted to say, when Keith started, and I've known Keith a long time, because like I said, he knew my dad. He was one of our first advertisers. He wanted to create the McDonald's of aircraft brokers. He wanted to create a franchise system and get people to come in and have both sources of revenue, from the franchise and from the sales of aircraft. Unfortunately, he got old, he got sick, he went into a care home. I think you could really fill his place in the industry and give people the guidance that they need and that they are seeking in this really awesome line of work. It's really fun. And, you know, I think his materials, they were great for the 90s and the 2000s, but now in the world with social media and all these other platforms, we need somebody who's more well-versed in that. And I just think you could be a great partner for USA Aircraft Brokers, and I'm really looking forward to reading your book in full. I've already kind of touched on some of the stuff, but really sitting down and reading it in full and working with you in the future. So thank
I
you.
appreciate that. Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Roman, did you have any questions? I wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity as well.
Yeah, thank you, Paula. Hi, Tom. Yeah, I have a question. Tom, I like your book because of the language. It's simple, and at the same time, it's very entertaining, as far as, you know, the way you use your language to really deliver the information, and the style of delivery of information is great. You know, those examples being on the flight and watching Legally Blonde movie, you know, that's so bright and sharp example. You know, it's authentic.
So
And
many
at the same,
judgmental eyes. I was like, what? Come on. Like,
yeah, and at the same time, it's vulnerable. So those things are really, you know, the signs of that you're just using your talent to describe situation, not just facts or your experience, but really kind of opening up the situation where people is really attracted to and entertained, and keep reading. So I just cannot stop reading your book as I started. Like, I'm going in big chunks, through the book. I guess I have a couple of questions about it. So, with working with clients, what do you think? Do you have enough? There like more questions that you think would be enough for something else for you to create, as far as another book, or maybe more content on things that you observe your clients are asking you about? And another part of the question is, again, working with your clients, do you see like things that there is also areas that they don't know what they don't know, so you can see that and maybe create some more content?
Yeah, I mean, those are great questions, and it's questions that everybody needs to be asking themselves, right? Especially when it comes to marketing and aviation. Like, what are the questions that people don't know to ask, but I'm asking them on a regular basis, and it kind of is a game changer, as well as how can I add more value, right? And so I guess I would say a couple things. Number one, the next book that I'm going to write is going to be for brokers. And it's going to be, and I think I'm going to call it Ready, Fire, Aim, the ultimate jet guide for brokers, because that's kind of how I've operated. It's ready, fire, and then aim, as opposed to like ready, aim, aim, fire. Or my wife's like ready, aim, aim, aim. Are we still doing this? What's going on? Okay, fire. For me, my journey in aviation was ready, fire, aim. I just told my wife one day, hey, I'm going to be a jet broker. And it's like, okay, here we go. So that'll be my next book, because I think there's a lot of value to training brokers. And I think there's value for buyers to understand it from a broker's perspective, but it'll be mostly targeted towards brokers. So I guess a principle to draw from that would be, you have your core clients, for me, the buyers, they're the ones that keep the lights on. But what are other audiences that might benefit from your experience? And maybe it's indirectly or it's directly. Can you have another stream of income or another revenue flow by serving another audience, an adjacent audience? So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it, from the marketing perspective. And then things that they don't know, it would be more content on how to make money with a jet. And so my biggest clicks and my highest views are for how to make money with a private jet. So how do you buy a jet? How do you lease it over to a charter company and generate revenue? How do you break that down? What are the things you need to be aware of? Those are kind of the content I probably should make more about, because it's the one that people click on the most.
That's another great thing about having content out there, is that you get all these statistics of what do people really resonate with? What do they leave the most comments or have the most questions or resonate with the most? And it's not what you think it's going to be. It's almost never what you think it's going to be. Some of the silliest videos, in my opinion, I'm like, should we even do a video about this? Because it's such a silly question. But those end up being our most popular videos or blog posts. I don't know if you've seen the same thing, but if you're surprised sometimes by.
Yeah. And I've also kind of taken a different approach to the numbers.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I was able to get on Ask Gary V on his show. I think it was TV
Yeah.
a few months ago. And I basically asked him, like, hey, a lot of marketing professionals are telling me I should make videos of celebrity jets, of, fancy stuff, luxury, yada, yada, yada. But like, even though it gets more views, the views are not qualified. Like,
Yeah.
there are people who just like to look at jets and they'll never be able to afford one.
Mhm.
So, should I chase the views and make that kind of content, or should I make content for people that I know I'm having these conversations with on a daily basis that maybe only gets 200 views?
Yeah.
And Gary was just, very much like, dude, forget those, the professionals. Like, you got to do what's best for your audience, basically.
Yeah.
And so, I've changed the data that I watch, and it's not so much the views, but time, like duration, average view duration.
Mhm.
So I think that's an interesting principle. To, like, yes, to collect data and to use data to make decisions, but then don't be afraid to look at different data points and figure out what is success to you.
Yeah.
So for us and my marketing team, success is not necessarily views. Is our average duration going up?
Mhm.
Is our click through going up?
Yeah,
And so, yeah, that's how we've started to like look at numbers a little bit differently.
smart. Yeah, we get a lot more engagement on Instagram as an example, but we get
Yep.
most of our customers from LinkedIn
Right.
and
Yeah.
YouTube.
Platforms
So,
too. Yeah.
right, exactly. So, but our numbers on LinkedIn don't look nearly as good as our numbers on Instagram. So we know that there's more people over here, but these are the ones that are qualified. So these are the ones that we're going to spend the time on, and we write everything for the platform that we get the most customers from.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, and there's no dashboard that'll tell you where your customers come from. You have to ask them, how
Yep.
did you find us? Right. Roman, did that answer your question? I didn't mean to jump on your
Yeah,
coattails there.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Paula. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Excellent. Great. Well, any famous last words? Anybody have any other questions, comments, anything else for Tom before we wrap it up for the day?
Thanks very much for your time. Very interesting. It's always fun to see process and procedure as well. As a former FBO owner, I wish I'd have had your book before I bought the FBO. But anyways,
The things we wish we knew earlier.
Yep.
Right. And that's another reason I love books is because, there's no substitute for experience except somebody else's experience, and this is one of the best ways to get it is to read about it and, get what you want when you want it. So thank you so much, Tom, for hanging with us today and for answering all of our nosy questions. And really look forward to, of course, the aviation industry is a small world, so we'll be seeing that. And again, people can find you by, through your Circle channel, of course, circle.jetlifeaero. Is
Yep.
that right? .com? Okay. And any other places that you want to send people or that they should get in touch with you?
Yeah, that's a great place. Circle's a great place to go. You'll find me, my name, Tom Lelyo, Lelyo, pretty much on all social media channels. And if you want to pick up a copy of the book, go to theultimatejetguide.com. You can download a free sample there, or just go ahead and buy the book. It's $9.99. So
It's on Amazon, or you have a copy if you're in our marketing lab. So we're really happy that you were able to come and talk with us live and in person. So.